Hello everyone, welcome to this beginner's course. So in this course I will teach you how to link an architectural model that you can see here into your project, into your structural project, and then from this extract all the relevant structural items that you can see here, from columns to walls to bases to structural steel, and then taking this information and putting it onto a sheet like this and displaying with view filters different types of foundation sizes, and also creating this legend and a quick schedule for your foundation. Same with your second and third floors, you will have this color coded view filters setup. So if you're keen to learn how to do this, please join this course, you will not be disappointed. And please note, I also have a YouTube channel which is free. It's called Revit Wiz. It's also in the description, so feel free to have a look at that for some free content. I hope you guys enjoy. So I just want to show you guys how to actually download Revit libraries and extensions. So just type in manage.autodesk.com/products.all or /all so that you can get to your account. So you'll just type in your email address and your password, and then you'll go to products and services, and then here you'll just type in Revit, and then you'll go to view details. Then all depending on the year model you have, for instance I have 2025 now, you can see all the updates that you want to install or can install. You can download it here and then just install it. And then any extensions that you want to install, you can look at them here. There's quite a lot of them. Example, advanced steel. You can work or do stuff in advanced steel and bring it into Revit and the other way around. And then plugins, Autodesk Exchange Connector, you can download this as well. And then libraries. So this is the important one, where all your different steel sections and if you're working with architectural stuff, doors and windows and all of that would be. So you'll just go to your specific country and you'll download this specific library, and then once you've downloaded it, you can just install it, and then it will save it somewhere on your C drive. Just make sure you see where it's saved, so once you try and load in any of your families or so, you know where to locate this. So I just wanted to show you guys how to do that. So I just want to show you guys, when you want to load a family and find those libraries on your local C drive, you can go here to load family, and then I'm just going to go back here to my local disk. You need to look for the program data. If you can't find that, you need to open your local disk and you need to go here to view, and there where it says show, just say you want to see the hidden items, then you'll see program data will pop up. So if you go into program data, you'll then just scroll down, or not scroll down, you go to Autodesk and then scroll down to RVT, whatever version. I'm just going to take 2024 as an example. And then you go to libraries, and then you go to whichever country. I just usually go to English, and then under South Africa I will find all my different elements. So yeah, hope this helps. So here is just the architectural model that you will be downloading, and then we will be using this model as the import Revit model to our structural model. Okay, so let's start by creating our new structural template. So we're going to use the preset one that is been given by Revit. So just go new, we go structural and make sure project is ticked and just say okay. Okay, now we're gonna bring in the architectural model, as a link. So we're going to say insert here, Revit link. And then we're going to go to this architectural model that you have downloaded in the download section. Then here, just make sure we say auto center to center and say open. Now you'll see it's placed this architectural model within the center of our model. Now we can just go and move these north and east arrows just so they sit beyond our project, and the south one so that is all set up. So in the next video we'll continue. So let's start by adding in some grid lines, but before we do that, we first want to pin this linked model. So we want to click on it and go here and say pin. The reason for this is that you don't accidentally move this while you are busy working in the project, because if you move this and you don't realize it, it can be quite fatal to your project. So if you try and move this, it will tell you it can't move because it's a pinned element. Okay. And then we also want to just make this Revit link halftone. So I'm going to press VV on my keyboard, go to Revit links and just say halftone and OK. So we can distinguish between what is in the linked model and what we bring in from the linked model. Okay, so now we can add in grid lines in one of two ways. So we go to the first one and do structure, and we go here to grid, and we say here pick lines. So now you can go and pick the grid lines that you want to bring in. So if I pick this one, it brings in grid line 1. And you'll notice if I click that one, it brings in grid line 2 because it's going in a numerical order. But now you'll notice that is actually grid line 1.1. So let's just change that to 1.1. So you'll see if I click the next one, it's going to be 1.2 because that is how the system works. But we don't want it as 1.2, we want it as the 2 there. So click on it, press 2 and enter. Then we go here, that will be 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7, 8, 9, and 10. Oops, and 10. Okay, so now we've done that. That is the one way of doing it. The other way of doing it is going here to collaborate, copy and monitor, click on the drop down and say select link. Now we're going to just come down here and you'll see that it will select the link in this instant. So then I just click the mouse button and you'll see it pops up this screen here or tab here at the left. Okay, now before we do any copying, we first go to options. Now within the options, you'll notice that there are 5 tabs that you can copy, or elements that you can copy into the project from your linked model. Okay, but we want to focus on the grids for now. So you'll notice that the architect has 3 different types of grid lines. You can see the naming here. So if you have a specific grid line that you've set up yourself, you can go here and say, okay, I want this specific grid line for all of them. But we're going to keep it as the preset for now. Okay, I just wanted to show you that. So just say okay. Then we're going to go here to copy and we're going to select multiple. Then I'm just going to select the grid lines in the horizontal direction. So I'm going to select them all like that. And then you'll notice there's a filter button here. We want to click on that and make sure we only select grids for the moment. So I'll just untick structural columns and say okay. Then you click on this finish button. So if you click on it, you'll see it's brought it in. So now what has happened is you'll notice there are these, looks like a little heartbeat, but what that means is it's a monitoring tool. So if you link or relink the architectural model again, and the architect would have moved one of these grid lines, it will pick it up automatically. So that is why it's monitoring it. But for this exercise, we are just going to focus on bringing in the grid lines and not so much on the monitoring area. So just click here, stop monitoring, and then it will switch it off. Then we don't have to worry about that anymore. So now you'll see our grid lines are exactly as per the architect, but if you want your grid lines to be up to the edges of your page to make it look a lot neater, maybe you just highlight your whole drawing and you go filter, just make sure grids is selected and say okay, right click like this and say maximize 3D extents, and you'll see it snaps to the edges of your 3D extent. Okay, now you'll also notice we only have bubbles on the left and at the top, but maybe if you want them on all four sides, you just click on any of the grids, say edit type, and then come here and make sure we tick that box and say okay, and there you have all your grid lines. Just notice we are still in the copy and monitor tool, so just say finish there, and that is how you bring in the grid lines. Now we can add in some levels, so let's just go to the north elevation, and then I'm just gonna press VV on my keyboard again and put this to halftone so we can just distinguish between what is in our model and what is the linked model. Okay, so I've just moved this out so we can see the difference in heights. So you can see we have our level 0 here, which is the entry level, and then level 2 is currently not on the same level as the architectural level. So how we can move this is press AL on your keyboard, go and hover over this specific level. You'll see it says there levels, level 202, this is the one that we want. Click on it and click on our level, so it just snaps towards that level. So now we want to change this to levels just to the 8mm head, so it looks like this. Now we can go if we want to and just rename it to the exact name the architect has, or you can change it to anything else. So once I press enter, it says, would you like to rename the corresponding views? So what that basically means is if I say yes, it's going to rename that structural plan. So let's just do that, say yes. You can see it renamed it there. So let's just do the same for the bottom one, 01, entry level, and go. You can say here, don't show this message again, but sometimes if you accidentally make an error, you can just say, no, you don't want to rename on that side. So just say yes, and there you go. So this is the naming sequence that we usually use from 01 going up, because that will just put it in a numerical order within our project browser. Okay, so now we can go and put in the next levels. So you can do it here in one of two ways. The first method is more or less the same we did earlier for the grids. I feel this is the slower way. So let's go to structure, level, and just say pick lines. Now you can see here, you can say, you can tick this box to create a plan view. So if you tick that box, it will create the plan view here as well. If you untick it, there will be no plan view created. Okay, then you can go to the drop down here and say, okay, do you want to just create a structural plan? Yes, or do you want to create a floor plan and a seating plan? But because we're doing structures here, we just want the structural plan. Okay, so we say okay. So now I'm just going to show you here. I'm just going to select that 8mm head. Then before we do anything else, just go to edit type and just tick this box here so we have this bubble on both ends of the level. Okay, so say okay, and then we can pick the line. Now you'll see it's created our level and also the level here, and we can do the same with that one. All right, now I just want to show you the difference. You can see that this circle is blue and white. If I go here and deselect this and I bring in that one, you'll notice if I press escape, that's going to be black and white. So the reason for that is this one is not linked to a plan view. Okay, so just press escape on your keyboard. If you want or accidentally brought this in and you want to fix this, you can. So you can click here on view, go to plan view, and then say structural plan. Then you'll see here all the levels that does not have a linked structural plan view will come up here. So if I say I want to create a plan view for this level 5 now, I just say OK, and you'll see there's the plan view, and it also opens it up for us. Okay, so just say we're just going to close that for the moment. Now what I'm going to do is just delete this. Just say OK, it's just going to tell me it's deleting the plan view, which is fine. I want to show the other method. So the other method is a bit better because if you copy it in, it's going to automatically take on this name. So it's more or less the same we did for the grid line. So go collaborate, go to copy and monitor, select link, just hover over again and click, and it'll take us to this tab again. Now we go to options, go to levels. You'll see the architect has two different levels or types of levels. So I just want to change this to the 8mm heads, both of them, and say OK. Then I'm going to say copy and select multiple. Then I'm going to highlight here and just make sure at the filter we just have the levels and say OK and say finish. Now you'll see it has brought in these three levels with the exact names. So just say finish here at the top. Don't want to save now. Now you'll notice it did not generate the plan views, but like I showed you earlier, that's okay. We just go to view, go to plan views, structural plan, and just press shift on your keyboard and select the last one because we want to create a plan view for all three of them and say okay. And there you can see it's created 3 parapet and roof. Okay, so if you go back to your elevation, you'll see it's turned blue now. That is what we wanted. So if you want to make this the full extents, just click here, say select all instances visible in view, right click again and say maximize 3D extents so they all line up. To make this look a bit better, you can just click on it. There's like a break line, click on that, and then you can just adjust this. You can do the same with the top one and maybe adjust it towards the top. So that is how you create your levels. So now we want to bring in some columns, structural elements from the architectural model. So sometimes the architects draw in column positions, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes they miss some support elements that we can just add in ourselves. But because the architect has done most of the work, we can just copy in his columns. So if we go to the 3D, it's just easier to view in the 3D, you'll see that this here is the architectural link. Okay, if yours doesn't display like mine, just go here and change it to fine and maybe change it from wireframe to consistent color or whatever suits your needs. Let's just say for now hidden lines. Okay, so now we can see all the structural elements, and the reason for this is if you go to your properties here at discipline, it says here structural. So you can go here and change it to architectural. If you change it to architectural, you'll just see architectural elements. If you change this to coordination, you're going to see a combination of elements. Okay, so what we can do is, let's just change this again to texture maybe. We can go to visibility graphics and just half tone this and then go to model categories, and then you'll see most of the architectural elements are turned off, like ceilings and these specific columns. These columns are architectural columns. You'll see if you scroll down, you'll find a structural area, yes, like here, where it says structural columns. All right, so we want to focus on that. And then we just want to put stairs on as well. So stairs is also actually a structural feature, but it's under the architectural tab. So let's just say okay. Okay, so now that we've done that, we can now start bringing in the columns. So let's just go here, copy and select link. Hover over the link, click the link, and then go to options. Then we're going to go to columns, and you'll notice once again there's two different types of columns here. One is just columns and one is structural. So we don't worry about these columns for the moment. Let's just focus on structural columns. So I want to bring in the same columns as per the architect. Okay, so let's go here. You click here and you scroll up and you say copy original type. So what I'm going to do is highlight that and say Control C on my keyboard, press Shift on my keyboard and select them all, and only click one of them with the mouse button and say Control V, and I press Enter, and it'll change all of them instead of doing them all individually. Okay, so let's do the same for this one. Maybe we want to change that column size to a universal column, something like that, and something like that. And then let's just check this one. Yeah, let's change it to the same size, copy original type. Okay, now that is done. Now we can go and say columns here. I just want to go and see what we have. So this is the architectural columns that's been drawn in. So I just want to change this to something more or less the same size. So let's just use concrete rectangular column, the 450. So I'm just going to highlight this one, copy it, and do the same that I did earlier, Control V and Enter. So it changes all of them. Now I've set this up, I'm going to say OK, and then I'm going to go to copy and select multiple. Then I'm going to highlight this whole drawing, and I'm going to go to filter, and I'm just going to select or deselect everything except the structural columns, and I'm going to say OK, and then I'm going to click finish. Now you'll see it's brought in all the columns and it's also monitoring the columns. Similar to what I explained earlier about the grid lines, we don't want to focus on the monitoring for the moment, so we're just going to say stop monitoring. Okay, so now it's brought in these columns. So to check it out, we can just say finish here at the top first. Say VV on your keyboard, go to Revit links, and we want to switch off the architectural model. And here you'll see all the columns that we have brought in from the architectural drawing. So just say VV, again Revit links, and just switch it on again. Okay, so there we have our columns. So if you go to the second floor, you'll be able to see your columns here. If you click on it, you'll see it's active within your project. So that is how you add the columns from the architectural drawing. So now let's say you wanted to maybe add in some extra columns because of support problems. Let's say here in the front, for instance. So I can basically click on this column here, and I can just say copy, CO on my keyboard, and I can copy it over to this line here. And then what you can do is you can also go and change this to anything else. Let's say you want it as an I section. Yeah, let's just keep it as an I section for now, and just copy it to that grid line and that grid line, and then just put this on fine and maybe shade it. Okay, so now we've copied that. Let's go to our 3D. See that we've put in the columns there, but now you'll notice it's only from the second floor to the third floor. So if you want this column to go down to the foundation, you just highlight them all, go to base here and say entry level, and it will take the column down to that level. Okay, so that is how you add these columns. If you wanted to rotate them, click on it and you press spacebar on your keyboard, and you can rotate them by 90 degrees. So you can do it on the other side if you'd like, but this is how you add extra columns. If you wanted to change a column size, let's say a rectangular size, you can click on this column, say that column there, and then we go edit type, and we can maybe change it to a rectangular column and change it to 450/600 and say okay. Now it might look a bit odd, but that's just for illustration purposes. So there it is. So you can see the architect's column is still in the background. So if you wanted to make this another size column, just say edit, duplicate. Let's say you wanted to make it maybe a 300 by 300 column. Always duplicate it, don't just overwrite it. So you change that B and the H to 300 and say okay, and there you've changed that column. So guys, in a nutshell, that is how you handle columns. Okay, let's say we want to add some foundations for these columns. So firstly, if we go to the north elevation again, we only have, call it the surface bed level, but the architect does not have a foundation level because they don't really concentrate on that. So we can add in our own foundation level. So the easiest way to do this is I'll click on this one. I'll just say CO on my keyboard for copy. And I'm going to make this, let's say 450 mils below the surface. And I just copy it over. Now you'll notice that this has just become level 6, but it is not allocated to a plan view. Okay, so I want to change that and call it 00 and call it foundations. Okay, so there we go. Now I just want to put this on a plan view. We go to view, plan view, structural, and we say okay. And it places our foundations for us. Now you'll notice the architect has some sort of a foundation shown, but it's not really what we want to see. So let's just go back to our north view. And for the moment, I want to go and highlight all the columns between this is the first, or call it the surface bed, and the second level. So the easiest way to do this is I'll just click from right to left and I select all the columns. So I filter, just say here check none, and I select 64 of those columns. So you'll see the base level, all of them are on entry level, but I want them to go down to the foundation. And then once I've done that, we can go and check it out on our foundation level. You'll notice that the columns has been pulled through to the foundation level. Now we can quickly go and add some foundations for these columns. So how we do that is go to structure, then we go to isolated foundation because that's for a column. Then you'll notice we have a rectangular footing and 2 preset types here. So I'm going to edit this one and just going to duplicate it, and I'm going to make up a size here. I'm going to say all of them are going to be this size. Just make that 400, and then also change it here 400, and that is 500, 500, and say okay. Now you'll notice here at the top, either what you can do is you can say you want to place this add columns or add grids, or you can manually go and place them like this, but we don't want to do that. I want to say add columns. So if I highlight this whole area, all the columns will receive this size footing. So let's do that. So if I go and highlight this, highlight all of them, you'll notice it shows me now all the column positions will get this specific foundation. And then I can just say finish, and you'll notice that it has selected all the columns and placed foundations. Now you'll notice it says here an attached structural column will be moved to the bottom of the column. So what this means is the following. Let's say I'm going to use an example now. Okay, so let's go to the 3D. I'm just going to switch off the architect's link so we can work in this. And then let's just switch off the levels and also the grids. Always go to annotation categories for that, just so we can work a bit cleaner. So what I want to show you here is the following. Let's say this column is currently attached, or this base is attached to that column. So the base is referencing the column. So if I had to take this column and I say, okay, from the foundation level, I actually want this foundation to be 300 mils higher. And I say enter. It says here, an attached structural foundation will be moved to the bottom of the column. That is what we want. We want this base to move with this column. So if I say okay, it automatically moves with the column. So that's just how it works in Revit. So always, if you want to change the base level, never try and change it here under the base. Change your column level and your base will follow. Okay, so let's just undo that. So there we have that. But now you'll notice that there are some columns, if you go to our floor plan again, or rather foundations, two of them that actually did not get a foundation. The reason for that is because they are too close to one another. Revit does not give it a foundation. So what you can do is either just copy this foundation, CO, copy it to that one. It's going to tell you, once again, it's moved to the bottom of the foundation, and copy that one like that. So now you have two foundations next to one another that will interlink. You can always go and change this to one bigger foundation. So how you do that is you just quickly measure this. That's 2568 or 2668. You can maybe make it 2700. So say edit type, duplicate 2700. Our length, or maybe it's our width, we'll just double check that now. 2700. Okay, let's change it to 2700. So what I'll do now is I'll just align it more or less with that edge. AL on the keyboard, click there, click that one, and there you go. And then we can just delete the one in the background. And then to make sure it's all well and central, you'll see that that section is wider than this section. So what we can do is just say 782 plus 750 divide by 2. So this dimension needs to be more or less 766. You can just change that, and now it's central to both columns. Okay, so you can go and do the same with this one. Maybe just delete that. I think the spacing would be the same, so you can just copy that over to there. All right, so now that we have placed foundations for all our columns, we can move on to the next chapter. So now let's focus on some walls. So let's go to the 3D again, VV, Revit links, and just switch on our architectural model again. So we take this step by step to actually understand what we are doing and what we're trying to achieve. So let's focus on the walls. I see there aren't too many walls that go down to the foundation. This is actually a partition, so we don't need to focus on that. This is a masonry wall. Okay, so what we can do here is the following. So we can also bring in this wall with the collaboration tool, or we can go and trace this wall. Sometimes if you don't have a lot of walls, like in this case, we can just go and trace this wall. So let's go to our entry level. We won't be able to see this wall on the foundation because it stops on the entry level. So go to entry level. You'll notice that we will hopefully be able to see the wall here, which we don't see. Oh, go to discipline, just say coordination. Now you can see the wall. There's the wall. If you want to select the wall, hover, press tab on your keyboard, and it will select that wall. Okay, so now we can go and trace this, or we can go and copy and monitor this. The reason I like tracing this is because if you copy and monitor this, it's going to bring in this whole wall with the door and everything. But if the architectural layout changes, I don't want to go and move my door around to accommodate the architect's layouts. I'm just going to use the architect layout as my background, essentially. So what I'll do is, the reason I just want to trace the wall is I actually just want the wall to show from the foundation to the surface bed level. And this is how I communicate to most of my architects that I work with, is I will draw all the walls up to a certain level and he can do the rest of the walls for the building. If it's a load-bearing wall, however, I will draw in that wall fully or to the full extent of what is required, because then it becomes a structural element. But a wall is a structural element in a sense, but for this instant, it's just to close up this specific area. Okay, so let's go to entry level and then go to structure, and we go to wall here and say wall structural. Now drop down menu, you'll see there's a lot of walls here that is preset. But for this example, I'm going to show you, let's make a cavity wall. So I'm just going to maybe choose that generic one, edit and duplicate, and call it a 280mm cavity wall. Enter, and then we say edit. Just going to move this over and say preview so we can see what we're doing here. Okay, so I want to insert two more, and then I want to put that on the top and this one at the bottom. I want that to be a structure, so I want this to be brick. This is the material properties. Just type in brick, click on brick common and say okay. I'll copy that, Control C, and paste that, Control C. Now the thickness I want 115, and that side 115. And then what we want to do is change that to thermal / air layer, and I want that to be 50 mils. So now we have two skins, one on each side, and we have a air gap. All right, then you can say do you want to wrap the ends so it looks like this? Yes, I want to. Okay, now we've done that, we just say okay and okay. Now we can go and place this. Before we do that, we want to make sure our location line is on the center line, because we're going to use this center line. And then I want my base to be on the foundation. I don't want it at an offset, I want it at 0. And then I want it to go up to the entry level. So the unconnected height of this wall is just going to be 450 mils. Okay, then before we place anything, I'm going to go here and say pick lines. Then you'll see once I hover here, it automatically picks up this wall. So I'm just going to click, and then same with that one, click that one. Then go and search for another wall. Let's see this one. If I hover over this, it'll tell me it's a basic wall, generic 200mm wall. So I assume this will also be some sort of a brick wall. Click that one, and also this one. There we go. These other ones are partition walls, so we just move up again. We'll do the same for this one. And this wall actually seems to continue far on. Click that one, that's fine. Then we go here and we choose this one. Just undo that, sorry. Make sure you click the wall, not something else. Click the wall, click the wall. Okay, I think we have most of the walls. You can just look around and see if you see some other walls that you might want to change. So then once we do that, I'll press escape on the keyboard. Let's go to our 3D view. Now you'll see it's been placed below the current wall. So we can see where our walls are placed. And the reason I place walls is I cannot put a strip footing in for a wall if there is no wall that has been placed. I actually see there's also a wall here, so let's go just back to the plan. Entry level, it seems to be that wall. Let's just do that again. Click on the wall, CS on your keyboard for create similar, and then you just click there. Okay, and go to 3D. So once again, you can go and change these walls to any thickness you like. This is just for examples. Okay, so now we can go back to our foundations, and we will see these walls quite clearly here. Let's just see what this is. This is a slab edge. So what we can do on a foundation drawing is we can actually turn off any flaws on the foundation, because essentially we just want to see the foundations. So press VV on your keyboard, go here and type in flaw, and we untick that and say okay. We actually need, let's just see, I think this is a beam, so we can also remove that. VV structural framing is a beam, and okay. So we can just see what we want to see. So there are our walls. So now to go and add some strip fittings, we go here on the structure tab, structural foundation wall, click it. Then you'll see here we have a retaining footing and we have a bearing footing. So we want to use the bearing footing. You can go and change it here if you'd like. Just say duplicate, and let's, for this example, maybe make it 700 by 250 millimeters. Okay, and just change it to 750 and that one to 250 and say okay. And I'll say select multiple. Once again, I will highlight all of this, and automatically it's only going to select the walls. You'll see here it's only selected the walls because it referenced the walls. Then I say finish, and there you can see it has drawn in our foundations for us for the walls. Now you'll notice that if I click on this foundation, they don't look the same, and they don't join the way that they are supposed to. So to change that, if you click on this, we can go and check here what is this settings or the material property. So you need to have the same material properties for it to join the same way or the correct way. So this is concrete cast in place. So press escape or escape there. I'm going to copy this, Control A, Control C. Then I'm going to go here to the wall foundation, edit, and change that structural material to the same as the isolated footings, and say apply and okay. And now you can see they all look the same. Okay. And then guys, if you want to extend this foundation beyond this wall, you just click on that, say edit. Let's say you want to extend it by 300, say okay, and there you go. So that is how you place wall foundations. Okay, let's start by bringing in some of the floors. So let's go to the 3D view, and we want to bring in these floors that we see here, like this one here. Okay, so let's go to copy and monitor, select link, select the link, and we go to copy, or rather options first. Then we go to floors. Now you'll see all these different types of floors the architect has and what we are going to bring it in with. We're going to bring it in as the generic 300. So you can go and create the floor types that you want and bring it in for those specific floors. So you can go here and maybe select something else. You can even say copy original. So we can maybe do that for some of them. Some of them don't have that option because some of them are actually architectural. So let's just for the moment bring the ones that we can do. We copy the original, and the other ones we just leave 300 millimeters generic. So you can work through this and check if you can copy the original or not. And then if you can't, that's okay. We will just change it afterwards. So let's just leave it like that, say okay. And then we go here to copy and multiple, and we highlight everything. Say here the filter, just make sure you select the floors, but the floors only, and we say okay. So now you'll see all those selected are only the floors, and then we can say finish. Sorry, that was the wrong button. Let's just do that again. Never press that finish button, you must press the other finish button. So let's just do it again. It's good that I made that mistake. So if you do that and you wonder what has happened, it's because we did not click the correct finish button. Make sure you click that finished button because of the multiple that we selected instead of that one. So first that one, finish. It's going to tell you it's copied in all of these elements, and we say stop monitoring, and then we can go again and say finish. And there we go. So now we can say VV on the keyboard, Revit links, turn off the architectural model, and now we can see all the flaws that we have brought in from the architectural drawing. So now we can go here and we can change this. If we don't want it as a 300, we can say edit, duplicate, maybe call it a 255 millimeter RC slab, edit, and 255. And we can say okay and okay. So we have changed that one. We can also change this one to the same 255, and the bottom one is 100mm surface bed. So if you wanted to change this, you can just go here and say let's maybe say 100mm, so that you know surface bed, that's actually a surface bed. Okay, and then this here seems to be some sort of outside floor. So maybe you can tell the architect we can change this to 100 mils and make it minus 85 so that you have a step out of the building, something like that. So that is how quick and easy you can bring in the floors. You can go and modify these floors. If I go to the second floor and I just say VV on the keyboard again, Revit links, and just underlay, you're not going to see the architectural drawing. So let's just go here and say coordination, and maybe change that to hidden line. Okay, so now you can see here that this area here looks like some sort of a stoop area. So maybe it would be wise to have some sort of a step there. So you can, what you can do is, instead of drawing a whole new slab here, you can just add in a portion here that is at a lower level. So how you do that is you click on the slab, you could say control, or not control, you say CS on your keyboard, create similar. So we can put in a slab, we do a rectangle, we just take the same area and we do something like that. This is just an example, something like this, and make sure it's on the second floor, and we want it to be 85 mils weather step, and we say finish. Now it's going to tell us the two floors overlap, which is fine. We can just go here and edit, and we can pick the lines here because we know that is where our step is happening. And then we can go and trim this. So you click on that there, trim, click on this one and that one, and then this one and that one. So it trims those lines, and then that one and that one. And we say finish. Now if you go to the 3D, you can see we formed a slab with some sort of a step so that the weather or the rain does not maybe go to the inside of the building. So that's just a simple example. If you want to, you can click on this and also give it a slope. Say edit boundary. There's a slope arrow here. Click on that. Just going to find the center line and make sure that it's at, where is it now, 90 degrees. There you go. Then if you click on this arrow, you'll notice that you can specify a height at the tail, which is that there, and a height offset from the tail. That's basically from that level, how much higher do you want it, and then the level at the head, which is that. Or you can go here and we can say slope, and you can say you want this slope to be at a certain degrees. So if you say, let's say -3, the reason for the minus is so that it slopes down. So if I say finish, you'll see it's sloping down, but it has become higher at the back. So you have to play around with this to see what would work best. So if I go edit boundary again, I go here, I'd rather say height at tail, and I'll say the level at the tail should be the floor level here, and I want it to be minus 85 because that is 85 lower. And then again, the level at the head I also want at the second floor, but I wanted another 85 lower. So that's going to be at a slope then. So if I say finish, you'll see that this is currently sloping. So to check that, go to annotate and go to spot slope, and you'll see it slopes at 1.59 degrees. If you want to change this to percentage, click on it. You'll see there's only one. So edit, duplicate, slope, and slope percentage. Go scroll down, go to this one, and say untick, and say where's the percentage? There it is. You can change it to whatever decimal places and just say okay. And same with this one, percentage, okay, and okay. Now you'll see that this slopes at 2%. I know the intersection there is not looking great, but this is just the example that I show you how to work with sloped slabs. So that is how you work with floors within the structural model. You can also add in some structural beams, concrete beams like upstand beams in the openings of the slabs. So you go to structure, then we go here to beam. Then on the drop down menu, you can actually go and choose the different types of beams. So let's say we want to use 300 by 600. Then because we are in the 3D view, it's just a lot easier to do it. I'm going to say pick lines and tick the 3D snapping so that you can actually pick that line there. So now before we start, make sure your properties here on the right, you don't have to set a reference level because we're using the 3D snapping. So the justification, I'm going to do uniform. Then the Y justification, I'm going to say left. That's on the left side of the beam. And then I'll make the bottom of the beam the justification in the Z direction. So let's just test that. If I use the soffit of the slab and I click, you'll see I've placed the beam and it offsets towards from the left to the right. That's because that's how I selected it. So just undo it. So now I'm going to hover over this and I press tab on my keyboard to select all four sides, and I click my mouse button. And there you can see I've generated my upstand beam. There you go. So it's easy as that. You can just generate the upstand beams. So now let's say I want to take those upstand beams and do the same on that level, but I don't want to redo the whole process. What I'll do is I'll say escape on my keyboard. So I'm just out of that function. Hover over the beam, press tab on my keyboard to select all of them, and press Control and click. Do the same here. Hover, tab on your keyboard, press Control and click. And the same with this one. Okay. Now I know this is on the third floor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say copy, paste, align to selected level, and I want it to go to the second floor. And I say okay. And there you can see I've placed the exact size beams in the same position as were the beams on the top. So you can go and place these structural beams around the edges here if you'd like. All depends on what the requirements are of the structure, but this is a quick and easy way to go and place your structural framing beams. Let's just do it for this opening as well. So do the same here. Hover, tab, go. Instead of doing that again, just do that. There you go. All our beams. You'll notice the color difference in the slab and this specific concrete beam. It's because of the type of material. So this material, we're going to copy this from the foundation, Control A, Control C. I'm just going to change it so it all looks the same, and also it all just works and interlinks the same. You can see if I go there, let's just draw a section, and I'm going to show you why I also change it. Go to the second floor, section indicators at the top, just draw a section like that. I go to the view. Now I'm just going to say VV on my keyboard, Revit links and architect link, and just turn that off. So now you can see you don't have a very nice join feature. It doesn't join there because it's not the same material. So this material I've already changed. I'm going to change the upstand beam material. Just say right click and do it for all of them. Select all instances, entire project, and then go to structural material, Control V and enter. And there I've changed that. So now what we can do is you go to modify and say join. Click that one and I click that one, and you can see how it joins now perfectly. And there all of the elements also looks the same. You can also just change, maybe just change this, select entire project, all of those I'm just going to change to 255. There you go. So everything looks the same. Easy as that. Okay, so we will notice that if we switch on our architectural link again, that this roof here is actually also a concrete roof, our roof slab. So what we can do is, because it doesn't want to copy in, because they've actually drawn it in as a roof. So if you press VV on your keyboard and you go to roof and we just tick that box, you can see that roof there. So you can see it says concrete deck, but it's drawn in as a normal roof sheeting roof. So to work around that, we can just take this slab on the third floor that we've already done, and we can select those beams, tab on your keyboard, select, tab on your keyboard, select, tab on your keyboard, select. Okay, then we say copy, and we're going to say paste, align to selected level, and we're going to put it at, let's see if it's at the roof level. I think so. Let's say roof level. Yeah, there we go. And we place it at the roof level. So if I say VV on my keyboard, I switch off the Revit link, we have our roof slab at the top. Okay, so that's just a quick way to get our roof slab done. If it's not on the correct level, one can always move it up or down, whatever you prefer. Okay, so now that we've done most of the structural work, we can start focusing on how to display these different levels on sheets. So let's go to sheets here, say new sheet, and we want an A1 and say okay. And this is the A1 sheet that we get. Alright, so if we do the drop down here, we can call this S1 and maybe change the name to foundation layout. Just spell that correctly. There we go. Okay, so let's go and focus on the foundation layout. So we want to try and set up some templates for ourselves. However, the foundation template will be on its own. The floor templates will be the same. So let's go and say visibility graphics. So VV on your keyboard, go to filters, and we want to give these foundations filters so that you can distinguish which sizes are allocated where. So you can go edit, and then we will go here to new. We will call this fitting 1 maybe. Say okay, and we know that this is a structural foundation that we want to focus on, and we want to give it a type name which will be equal to the foundation size, which is that. Okay, so you can either change that footing one to this name, which I think is preferable. So just do that, rename, do that, and say apply. Then we can duplicate this one. We can go to that one that's been duplicated. And now we want to change it to the 750 by, or the 700 by 250. So just do that again, rename that one. That is for our strip footing. Say apply, okay. And then we click on that one, press Control and click on that one and say okay. Okay, now we want to give it some colors. So the first one I'm going to change to solid. We're working with the foreground because we're cutting above this foundation plane. We are focusing on the foreground pattern, which is also the projection slash surface area. Then we will make it maybe cyan and say okay and give it some sort of a transparency of 50. And then we can do the same for the strip footing, make it maybe orange. Okay, and also change it to 50 and say apply and okay. The reason why it's not showing is because it must be on wireframe. So there you can see our foundation sizes are now color coded. This one doesn't have one yet because we need to actually go and set one for it. So let's go do it again. Add, edit, take that one, just duplicate it. We know it's called this name. We will just rename it there. So just take note, that is because when we renamed it previously, that 2 here actually stuck by. So I'm going to just show you how sensitive these filters are, so you must keep track of what you're doing. So we say apply and okay, we will just add that in. Just note this name here does not have anything to do with the actual setup of this rule here. This name here is always the important name. You can name it whatever you want on the left side, but this name that you choose here is the name that actually governs. Okay, governs the rule. So let's just make that pink and 50. See, it's changed now. Now I want to show you if I want to correct that because it looks odd. And I make that, I delete that, and I say okay and okay. You'll see that it actually changes back because our rule is not valid anymore. So if you go to VV again, filters, you can change this name like I said earlier. If you change this name, show you and say okay, okay, okay. It doesn't do anything. This name can be whatever it wants. It's the other name within the rule that's the governing factor. So I need to change this to that base. Apply, there, change the color. There you go. So then if we go to our foundation layout, you can take that foundation layout, you can pull it in here. Obviously it's too big, so let's just go and change the scale to maybe 1 to 200. Let's see if that looks better. Yeah, that's better. There you go. Now you have a foundation layout with all the different types of colors. We can also set up a schedule for it. So we go here on schedules, right click, new schedule. Let's search for foundations here at the top. We want that structural foundation one. Okay. Now we must choose all the fields that we want present here. So firstly would be the type name, or rather just the type. And then you can also give it the level you want. There's quite a lot of options here. You can also have a count, how many of them are there. And you can also have the area of that specific footing. So there's a lot of options that you can choose here. Okay, so let's say okay for the moment. And this is how it then displays. Okay, so now we can go and just play around with this a bit, because we know we only have actually a certain amount of these foundations. So if I go here and edit, and I say sorting and grouping, and I say sort by type, and I say header, I say okay. This is what it does, just categorize it for us, but then again, we don't want it to be itemized, every one of them. And there we go. Okay, so how to change this to make it look even better is we go to edit again. Here it's sorting and grouping. Take away the header and say okay, that looks a lot better. So now you guys can see we can go here and maybe remove the areas, because there's more than one type of area, and the level we can also remove. You can put the levels on your foundations drawing. Show you how to do that now. So if we do that, there we go. So now you have the type of foundation and the number of them. So that is how you do that. And then we can also take that schedule and put it on the drawing. So I'll put it on the layout. So go here, structural foundation, and then you can go and just make this a lot neater. You can see the types of foundations we have. And here, if you go into our drawing here, you can go and put the actual level here. So you do that by going to annotate, spot elevation. You can put the level, which is minus 450 from the 0 level. This can be changed. If you go here, edit, say duplicate, and you put that and you say survey level, and then you can change it to the survey level. It doesn't do or change anything, because the survey level and the actual project level is at the same position at the moment, but it's just to show you can change that. You can also go and put it on this one and that one, so that you have levels. Let's just go to the 3D. You can see this foundation here seems to be a lot lower. Might have snapped to something. It snapped to the bottom of that foundation, that is why. But yeah, in principle, that is how you do your foundations. You can also do a legend for this in your drawings. So you go here, right click, new legend, call it foundations. 1 to 50 is fine. Then you can just go here and say text, say here legend, do that, and do a, then we can go here region, fill region, and you can go and do something like this, maybe make that 500 and that one 200, which is fine. Just move it more or less here, and then you can go and edit this filled region to be the same as your footing that you have. I think it's a 400, and then you can click here and make it solid. Okay, just change the color to cyan and say finish, and there it is. Then you can take that or make a new text, maybe text, click somewhere there, dash, and say 1500 by 1500 by 400 millimeter RC base, and then we can just move it up like that. Then you can take this and you can copy it over, let's say 500 mils and 500. Then you can just change this, just change that one, duplicate, goes 2750, change it to that, and that one to the 700 by the 250 millimeter. That is orange. And then that must also change. Just for interest sake, I do have a video on YouTube where I write a Dynamo script to make these filters a lot easier. Instead of doing it by hand the whole time, there's a Dynamo script I created to do it for you automatically and not have to do this manually all the time. So go to foundations. You can then take that legend there and you just pull it in like that, and just make sure this is set to no title, and then you can put your legend maybe somewhere there. So now you can see the colors here and colors there match. You will notice this is a bit transparent where this one isn't. You can also change that, so you can go here to your foundation legend that you set up. Then we can just do VV on your keyboard, do another filter. We'll do a transparent filter like that, and then we will go and search for fill region. Just see if there's one like that. Isn't. Maybe under detail items we can do it. We will say types comment equals to, currently there's nothing, so let's just create it for the moment. So click here, edit, go to type and comment, and we type in here transparent. We just copy that and do it for the other ones. Once this is set up, you don't have to do it again. Okay. VV on your keyboard, go to transparent, just edit it. Now we can do one for the floors. So I'm going to take the example of the second and the third floor. So we have the third floor here. We know we have 255 slab and we have some ring beams, 300 by 600. So now we want to set up a filter and also a layout so that we can basically do a view template that can be copied to the third floor. So you don't have to do this whole process again. So that's what view templates are for. So if we keep the background from the architect on as is, then we just go and create some filters for ourselves. We will create a new one and call it 255 millimeter slab. And then we will look for floors, because remember, floors is basically the structural slabs. So go here down to type name equals to, and then 255 slab. Say apply. Then duplicate this, rename. We know we need a 300 by 600 millimeter RC beam. Then we can just go down here and select structural framing there and make sure you untick floors. Okay, so that we can select that structural frame. Apply. All right, and then we can say okay and bring in those two. Then we can do our patterns again. Solid. Let's say we want it green and 50 transparency. Same with the beams. We want it solid, and maybe we want it purple, but we keep it at 0. No, let's also make it 50. Okay, and okay. Now you can see what has happened here. Our slab is displaying, but our beams aren't displaying. So the reason for that is the following. It's because we're cutting through that beam. So we need to change the cut pattern. So if you change the cut pattern to the color that we want, it should change. And there you go, it changed. But now because these two are overlapping, the color is not quite purple. So if you want to, let's just take that one off. You can just make this maybe a crosshatch. Maybe that 1.5 one. We'll see how that displays. See, that looks a bit better. Now you can actually see it's purple. Okay, so that's the beams and the slab. Then you can also change these columns if you want them to stand out. So you can either make a filter for them in the way we just did, or we can just go and edit the material properties. But I like working with filters, so it might be better just to do the filters. So if we go VV again and say filters, add, and we just say columns. I'm not going to focus too much on the column sizes. I'm just going to focus on showing you how to do or change the color of the column. So the type name here, you can choose your different columns, but instead of doing that, you can maybe say, okay, we want the column, the base level. We know this is our second floor. So all the second floor columns that start on that specific base level, we want to change to a specific color, but we want another rule. So we say, or any rule may be true. So it means if we add another rule, any of those two can be true. It will still display. So add another rule. Also say base level equals to third floor. The reason for that is when we create our template that we are just the template that we are creating now, if we use that same template on the third floor, we already set up the third floor columns. Okay, so now we say okay, and then we will go to columns, add, and let's make it red. Most probably it's not going to work if we just do the foreground. We might have to do the cut pattern because we're cutting through that column. So let's say apply, there we go. So there our columns are cut. You'll see this column is not cut through because it starts on the foundation level. So it's just to show you how filters work. It's a very powerful tool that you can use and display your drawings quite neatly. So now that we've done that, let's just quickly duplicate this sheet to an empty sheet, and we will rename this to, call it second floor. Second floor. Just rename that to maybe S3 and just duplicate it again and make that S4. That will be the third floor, not what I said, third. There we are. So this floor will change to 1 to 200. Then what I want to do is I want to go to view and say view template, and I want to say create template from current view. So I'm going to take this template that we've just done and it's going to copy it or save it for us, and then we can use it on another layout. So I'm just going to say slab layout, so I know that the view template is the slab layout. Now before I say okay, here you can tick what you want in this specific view template. So we don't need all of this to be copied over. So usually I pick everything except the maybe view range, this here, because the view ranges, they always differ because it's on different levels. So there where this view range is, just untick it and say okay. Okay, so now it's saved it. It doesn't look like it's done much, but if I go to the third floor, you'll see that this third floor, we want to have it looking the same as the second floor. Now we don't have to go and do everything again like we just did now. You'll just go here where it says view template, click on none, and then you'll see this slab layout we've just created. So if I say okay here, you'll see it automatically updates the scale, the specific wireframe. You can see you can't edit it here. You can't edit this because it's a view template now. You need to click on this, and anything you edit in this view template now will be edited everywhere where you've selected this view template. Just make sure the second floor, it's not set to a view template, just set it to that view template. So if I change something here, let me show you. Click on that. I'm going to change the filters, and let's say I want to change the slab color to maybe, what can we change it to? Green. Oh, it's already green. To the blue. I say okay, and I say apply. Now it's changed on level 2, you can see it. If I go to level 3, it's already changed it there. So this is the power of view templates. And what I want to show you earlier, or what I took this out the view range, you can see it's unticked. So you'll notice if I go to the view range and I say edit, I can edit the view range. But if I go to something else that I want to edit, you can see everything is grayed out here. I can't edit that. If you want to maybe not have it part of your view template, let's take an example, that orientation. Go to slab layout, then you go and look for orientation. You untick that box and say okay. Now you can see it's not grayed out anymore. Now you can change whatever you want in here and it will not affect the template at all. So that is how the templates work. So now if you go to the second floor sheet, you can just pull that onto there. And the third floor, same story, just pull it to there. There you go. Now we've already created a foundations legend. We can just duplicate this with detailing, rename that, say slabs, so that we know that one, edit, duplicate 255 millimeter RC slab. Just copy that, say okay, change it to the blue, and I'm just going to paste that name there, delete that one, and then this one here, oh no, we need that for the columns. This one here, also duplicated. This will be the 600 millimeter RC beams. Go there, change it to, what was it again, purple, and then just change it to crosshatch. That one there. There you go. And then this one, oh, before we do that, just 300 by 600 millimeter RC beam. And then that one I can call just columns, column positions, and then change it to red. And I want to switch off the transparency, so I delete that. So now that's not transparent, and that one is. You can see it there, transparent. This one I also don't want transparent. So that's the power of filters. Okay, so now that we've done that, I can go and say, okay, I want that legend in my second floor. So let's pull that in there and say no title. And then I'll say, okay, I want this one also on the third floor. So I'll go copy, third floor, go to modify, paste, align to current view. And there you have it. So now anytime you change the filter in the slab, let's change it back to green again. That green. There we go. Then I go to my second floor. It's changed. Go to my third floor and it's changed. Then I just need to change it in my filter. So let's just do that again. Go to filters, or in your view template rather. Change it to green. And there we go. So our third floor looks like this, and second floor looks like this. And that is how you handle your view filters for your layouts for slabs and beams. Here is the structural model for you that we have created. Your model should look like this now. If it doesn't look like this is why I have given you the free model to download, so you can go and check what you might have not understood or missed. So there you go, guys. There's the model with all the filters that has been created. So once again, I hope you enjoyed this course, and feel free to just leave a comment or a review, and you can gladly tell me what I can focus on if you need any further help. Thanks, guys.